The number one enemy to your productivity is procrastination. And since we can't allow procrastination to beat us, how do we overcome? The title of today's conversation is Win the War Against Procrastination. Welcome back to the Dream Lifestyle Podcast, where we're here to take one step towards our dream lifestyle. If you're new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all of our conversations. We drop new conversations every first and third Monday of the month, also that way you can grow and achieve that dream that is in your heart. So I encourage you to do that. Today's conversation, we're talking about winning the war against procrastination. And this is an important conversation for us as leaders, as visionaries, as high achievers, simply because in order for us to be successful, we need to be productive. In order for us to have the impact that we desire, we're going to have to get some things done. And the reality is, for a lot of us, procrastination is the one obstacle that is keeping us from our destiny. Procrastination is the one thing that consistently seems to get in the way. And so it's my goal in this conversation to not just give you some tips and some tools to help you overcome it just in a temporary fashion, but I want you to take what we're going to talk about today and consistently apply it to your life. So that way, anytime you feel procrastination fighting against you, anytime you're facing the option of procrastination, you choose to be productive because you have what we're going to be talking about today. So I want to start by just giving you all a definition of what procrastination is. I'm going to talk about what it looks like in our day-to-day lives. But then I'm going to be sharing with you 3 things that will help us win the war against it. All right. So procrastination is the act of delaying or putting off something that needs to be done, even when it's known that there could be negative consequences. What does this look like for us in our day-to-day? For some of you, you may be in a corporate space and there's a project that has a task that has a certain deadline on it, but because you are procrastinating, it's due on Friday and you really decide to not start working on it until Thursday, right? Or you may be an entrepreneur and there's something you need to do for a marketing campaign. And you know that it's super, super important for this new thing that you are launching. And because you are fighting and facing procrastination, you basically take your time and you feel like you'll get to it when you feel like it. And unfortunately, what I've learned when it comes to this fight against procrastination, if we are not equipped with the right tools, we will end up losing. And so in order for us to be productive, we have to find a way to intentionally win the war against procrastination. And so here's what I need you to know. When you think about procrastination and just overall why we need to win the war, procrastination disguises your potential. And if you are somebody that wants to see your potential here on earth, if you're somebody that wants to see your dream to become a reality, you are going to have to win the war against procrastination. And so I want to share with you 3 ways in which you're going to do that. The first way in which you are going to win the war against procrastination is, number 1, you're going to find the why behind the work. Find the why behind the work. Now, I don't want you to hear that and think, oh, that's super cliche, because I'm going to break that down. When I say find the why behind the work, that's threefold, meaning that, number 1, the why should be clear. Number 2, the why should be personal. Number 3, the why should have a personal consequence. Now, let's start with just the why being clear. When we talk about the why being clear, it simply means that when you think about whatever task or responsibility is ahead of you that needs to be done in a timely fashion, that the why should be understood by a 3rd grader. Like, it is very clear as to why this needs to get done, and not just why it needs to get done, but also why it needs to get done by the certain time. And if you are unclear as to why something needs to get done, not just in terms of the task itself, but why it needs to get done in that timely fashion, you are more likely to procrastinate. And for a lot of us, we are procrastinating because there's too much ambiguity around the why with our tasks. So if you genuinely want to start winning the war against procrastination, you're going to need to find the why behind the work by making sure your why is clear. Now, when we also add the aspect of the why needs to be personal, it means that you need to personalize the why. Meaning that if it's a task that you are delaying or pushing off and it has to do with your job, I know that the initial response or the initial thought would be, oh, well, that task is only really going to benefit the company. That task is only going to really benefit my boss or my manager, or it's just somebody else. And we basically pass off the impact of the task simply because we just aren't clear on the why. But when we think about this why, finding the why behind the work, we need to make it personal, meaning that, okay, I understand why I'm getting this done. It's clear to me. It's very clear in a third grade language type of way, but also that why impacts me. Like the reason in which you are doing things in a timely manner, in a timely fashion that you are, means that in some way, shape, or form, it positively impacts you. And let me tell it to you another way. In other words, rather than thinking about what's going to happen if it doesn't, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're thinking about, okay, what will I now be able to do as a result? What door is closed to me now that will then be open to me once I win the war against procrastination? And when you start thinking about just your tasks and responsibilities this way, you will find yourself more willing to be productive, simply because the why behind the work is personal. It's not professional. It's personal, meaning that you are now able to do something that you weren't able to do before because you got whatever the task was done in a timely manner. So, number one, you're going to find the why behind the work by making sure it's clear. You're going to make sure it's personable, but you're also going to make sure that the why has a personal consequence. So, in the same manner, we want to make sure that the why is personal, meaning that there's in some way, shape, or form a positive impact for you. We also want to make sure that whatever that negative consequence is, that also is personal. Like meaning that that it shouldn't just be, you are delayed in your productivity and your team takes the hit, or your business takes a hit, or like there needs to be some way, shape, or form where you have some skin in the game when it comes to your task. And this is a matter of thinking it through. And for some people, you might have to make it up in your head as like a game or something like that. But for the most part, when you think about being productive and finding the why behind the work, you need to also be very clear as to the personal consequence as a result of delaying productivity. So if you want to be productive, if you want to win the war against procrastination, you need to understand the why behind the work. And understand, when you are able to find the why behind the work, you will always be moving forward. And if you are always moving forward, you will find yourself procrastinating less. And so, again, just as a recap for this point, number one, you find the why behind the work by making sure the why is clear, personal, and it has personal consequences. All right, that's number one. You find the why behind the work. The second way in which we're going to win the war against procrastination is that we're going to find a schedule to succeed. We're going to find a schedule to succeed. And this point really speaks about structure. Okay, so practically, it means that you're going to set a personal deadline, not the deadline that your boss gives you, not the deadline that you might make up on your, but like you're going to set a personal deadline for yourself about this is when these different things are going to get done. Okay. And again, these deadlines can be totally made up, but there's something that you hold personal to you. And that's why a lot of us procrastinate, because we don't take the tasks personally. So if you want to stop procrastinating, start taking tasks personally. All right. So we're going to find a schedule to succeed. So the first thing we're going to do in order to do that is we're going to set deadlines, set personal deadlines. And within setting personal deadlines, number two, we're going to establish a day-by-day action step. So think about this as taking the big goal, the big outcome that we'd like to see happen, and we are breaking it down into smaller bite-sized pieces. And this is important because ambiguity is one of the top causes as to why we procrastinate. If you don't know where to start, if you don't know what's next, you're more likely to procrastinate. So we eliminate that by taking the time to flesh out and intentionally build a structure for what each and every day looks like when we think about completing any type of task or any type of project or any type of milestone that we're looking to reach. Because the more clear we get, the less we are to procrastinate. And so when you think about finding a schedule to succeed, you're going to set personal deadlines, meaning that, okay, by Tuesday, this will be done. By Thursday, that'll get done. By next week, I should have this done. And then I'll be able to hand in, I'll be able to post, I'll be able to submit, I'll be able to do whatever it is by X date. And it's, again, you're making it personal to you. And when you give yourself this schedule to succeed, it will keep you at ease. So a lot of the reason why we procrastinate has to do with the fact that there is ambiguity present, but we feel so much pressure that we almost don't know where to start. We don't know where to go. We don't know what's next. There's just a lack of clarity. There's a bunch of uncertainty in the mix, which causes us to procrastinate. But when you find a schedule to succeed, all of your questions become answers. Everywhere where there's chaos, there's clarity, so that way you can do what's necessary. And you, again, are less likely to procrastinate. You will be winning the war against procrastination. Hey, I want to take a second and invite you to the Dreamer Symposium. This year's theme is Next Level Living, and this is a 2-day growth conference for you to set big New Year's goals, for you to strategize for success, and for you to network with other like-minded dreamers. Listen, this is a conference that you do not want to miss. It's changed the lives of many, and I believe it can change yours as well. So be sure to go to dreamersymposium.com or to go in the description link below, so that way you can claim your spot to go to the Dreamer Symposium. Whether you get a VIP ticket or a gold ticket, I just want you to do what you need to do for you to be in the room. It's happening on December 7th in Jackson, New Jersey, and it's going to be special. It's going to be life-changing, and I look forward to seeing you there. Now, let's get back to the episode. And when you're establishing day-to-day action steps, you have to think about just reverse engineering the outcome that you'd like to see. All right, you're reverse engineering, meaning that if there's a task or a project that requires 10 steps, well, what does it look like for you between now and your deadline to break up those pieces of that project to completion? So that way, you know, by day 3, this should be done. By day 5, this should be done. By day 7, this should be done. By day 10, this should be done, so on and so forth. And again, this is like project management at its best. But again, you go into your day-to-day, you go into your schedule, just knowing what needs to get done. There really is nothing, there is no other options, because you've strategically placed activities and tasks in your calendar in such a way where it just leaves out any room for negotiation with self. And again, these are very simple, practical things that you can do. All right. So number 2, you're going to find a schedule to succeed. All right. The third thing, all right, the third way in which we're going to win the war against procrastination is that we're going to find support to keep structure. All right, number 3, we're going to find support to keep structure. And the way in which we do that, number 1, is we're going to find somebody that does the work well. And then number 2, we're going to eliminate everything that creates excuses. Now, let's talk about this first part. When we talk about finding someone that does the work well, this is relative to whatever thing it is that you find yourself procrastinating with. If you find yourself procrastinating with eating well, find somebody that eats really healthy. If you find yourself procrastinating with work, find somebody that's really productive in that space. If you find yourself struggling, to read, get with someone that actually reads often and then pick their brains about what helps them be productive when it comes to reading books, whatever it is. But you want to make sure that you're finding someone that does it well, so that way you can add them to your support system, so you can have proper structure in your life. And when you have proper structure in your life, you're again taking away the ambiguity, you're taking away the guessing work when it comes time for you to be productive. And when you identify these individuals, you'll then have a network that you can pull on. And it's not just so much a network that you can pull on in terms of asking questions and everything like that. You'll start having a group of people who will hold you accountable to whatever the outcome is that you should have when you complete the task on time. So when you think about whether it's a project that needs to get done at a certain point, or a product that you're trying to launch, or a book that you're trying to finish, or just something that you are trying to get done in a certain amount of time, you will have people in your life that you simply don't want to disappoint. And so by having this support system, we have now elevated this task from just being something that is only existing in our world to where now I have people that are looking and waiting for me to do whatever it is that I said I'm going to do. And they will be disappointed if I don't come through, if I don't honor my own word in saying I'm going to do this thing. So I want to win the war of procrastination. It's even bigger than me. I want to win the war on procrastination because I want to have them look at me and be proud of me and the work that I've done. I want them to see the work that I've done and respect me for it. I don't want people to look at me and say, oh, I say one thing, but I do another. I don't want people to say I underperform. I don't want people to say that I'll say one thing, but I'm just going to procrastinate, so I'm unreliable or untrustworthy. These are the things that happen when you fall into procrastination. There's no way you're going to be trusted with anything if you are consistently procrastinating. Because if procrastination is a part of your reputation, you will not be trusted with anything. So if you want to be trusted, if you want elevation, if you want people to rely on you, I'm going to encourage you to find a way to consistently win the war against procrastination and get things done. Now, the second part of finding support to keep structure, number one, like I said, is finding somebody that does the work well. And that again is an accountability partner, might be hiring a coach, might be whoever, but you need to get people in your circle that will help you stay on track. The second part of that is you need to eliminate everything that creates excuses. Eliminate everything that creates excuses, because excuses is the fuel for procrastination. And if you are able to set up your life in a way where there are limited amount of excuses that you use that basically add to your procrastination, there are basically illogical reasons as to why you procrastinate that you make up in your head. You want to get rid of it. So you put in the right boundaries, you put the right guidelines, you put the right systems in place, automations in your life, so that way there is no wiggle room. And this is where I talk all the time about you need to make sure that you're not negotiating with yourself. And when you eliminate everything that creates excuses, you're basically eliminating opportunities to negotiate with yourself. So if you think about maybe you're procrastinating to go to the gym, well, you have to think about the different reasons that you've used that stop you from going to the gym. And so if you're somebody that's like, oh, well, I meant to go to the gym, but, I couldn't figure out what I was going to wear. Well, how about you eliminate the thing that creates an excuse by laying out your clothes the night before? Oh, well, I didn't start going to the gym because I didn't really know what to do there. Well, you can either hire a trainer who's just going to give you the workouts, which eliminates that excuse, or do the research the night before about here's what I'm going into the gym with for a plan, whatever it is. And that's just an example with physical health. But the same is true when you think about your eating habits. The same can apply to your job. The same can apply to your church. The same can apply to your organization, your business, whatever it is. You want to make sure that you are doing everything you can to eliminate excuses. Because if you continue to live by your excuses, you will only be distancing your destiny. And I want you to live in your destiny. I want you to walk in everything that you're supposed to in this life. And that is going to require you to win the war against procrastination. So when you are finding support to keep structure, you need to know that when you have this structure in place, when you find the support for it by finding someone that does it well and you're eliminating excuses, you will then consistently move forward. You will always be productive. You are guaranteeing your success simply by having structure and support. All right. So I hope that this was helpful to you. I'm going to recap everything that we talked about when you think about winning the war against procrastination. Number one, you're going to find the why behind the work, which means the why is going to be clear, personal, and it's going to have personal consequences. And because finding the why behind your work will keep you moving forward. Number two, you're going to find a schedule to succeed. All right, which means setting personal deadlines and establishing a day-by-day action step plan. All right, because finding a schedule to succeed will keep you at ease. And then number three, you're going to find support to keep structure. And that means that you're going to find somebody that does it well and will hold you accountable, so you don't want to disappoint them. But whether that's hiring a coach or, just a friend or whoever it is. And then number two, when it comes to find support to keep structure, you're going to eliminate everything that creates excuses, because you don't need to negotiate with yourself. And if you want to be productive, you can't negotiate with yourself. So you want to eliminate any and all things that keep you unproductive. So I hope that this conversation was helpful to you. I just have two favors to ask of you. If this was helpful to you in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to ask you to share this with someone. Share this with someone that you know deals with procrastination, someone that you know right now is losing the war against procrastination and you want to see them start winning. So I'm going to encourage you to do that. Secondly, I'm going to ask you to download the end of year audit. The description for it is in the link below. These are 5 simple questions for you to get clarity on how this year actually went. Because for a lot of us, we go through this entire year and we have recency bias. And so if we experience any type of challenge in like Q3 or Q4, we feel like that's how our entire year went. And so I'm going to encourage you to download this free resource just so that way you can be clear as to how the year actually went, so you can not only finish 2024 strong, but you can start 2025 off with a bang. I appreciate you guys for checking out this conversation. So as you prepare for our next conversation, as you take a bold step towards your dream, I'm going to encourage you to check out our last conversation. And always remember, your dream is probable when you get better.